An unpresidential thread that's been woven throughout the whole Biden presidency. Whenever this president finds himself facing bad headlines, he tries to change the subject by fear-mongering about civil rights and voting rights and pretending that we're in the 1950s or 60s. So remember early last year, when the full impact of Democrats' inflation was coming home to focus,
Important news, keep an eye out on Social Security. A new group of senators, including Republicans and Democrats, are calling for the Social Security Administration to implement new rules and changes. The lawmakers have already confirmed that some may be able to claim even larger stimulus checks. First of all, Americans claim Social Security retirement benefits at the earliest age possible, but see their monthly benefit checks reduced permanently because they did so. And now a bipartisan group of senators, everybody, is proposing two changes to help encourage retirees to wait. The lawmakers include senators like Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, and Tim Kaine. The proposed updates include changing the language of the Social Security Administration that it uses around the claiming process and increasing the mailing of paper Social Security statements. The earliest age to claim Social Security retirement benefits is 62 years old. However, those who claim at that age see a reduced benefit. And the group of senators wrote in a letter to the Social Security Administration that when to claim Social Security benefits is a critical decision for older Americans planning their retirement. Most people, however, do not claim benefits at the age of 66, and that would maximize their retirement and income, usually because they claim too early. Social Security beneficiaries are entitled to full benefits once they reach the full retirement age, 66 to 67, all depending on the birth of your date. For every year delayed past full retirement age, claimants stand to get an increase of 8%, everybody, yet 62% of remains the most requirement and frequent claiming age, with almost 35% of men and women making that choice. And the senators wrote, resulting in an average lifetime loss of $111,000. Senators note that there are various reasons retirees claim at the earliest age possible, including an inability to work, financial stocks, liquidity constraints, and of course, life expectancy. However, some people may start taking Social Security benefits at the soonest time possible because they are unaware of the advantages of waiting. If Emerson Sprick, an economist analyst at the Bipartisan Policy Center, told CNBC, some claimants who have the capacity to wait even 6 months or 5 years longer may not be doing so because they don't have the adequate information to make an informed choice. And the paper statements will be sent regardless of whether someone established a Social Security account or they're opting for paper statements as well. The statements provide details on how much benefits a person they can receive, and paper statements will be sent whenever a person enters the workforce to start a new job. The statements will continue once every 5 years after a person turns 25, once every 2 years starting from age 55, and annually from the age of 60. Research from the Bipartisan Policy Center previously identified paper statements as one method to help encourage Americans to claim at the right age. Other researchers also pointed out the value of changing the benefits terminology that the Social Security Administration uses. In addition to the legislative proposal, the senators sent a letter to the SSA seeking more information on the factors that lead beneficiaries to claim early and get their money. So folks, it's important for stimulus to be sent out, and I just hope that Joe Biden can do this.
It's 7.5%. That's a tax. And it continues to increase. It's not decreasing. So the feds have to step up to the plate and do something. The administration has to do. We all have to work together right now to get our financial house in order. If not, it's going to be absolutely horrible what it's going to do to the American economy.
And what do you think about just yesterday, Speaker Pelosi doubled down and, well, tripled or quadrupled down, I guess, on Build Back Better would help fight inflation?
This is not a time to...
Get ready for several new changes, everybody. Democratic senators like Joe Manchin have announced that they want to change the way that Social Security is funded. It can mean smaller checks for the Social Security and SSDI beneficiaries. It can mean less people getting stimulus. Plus, the Fed is also looking for another wave to raise the rate hike, which will affect many seniors and people on Social Security, SSI, SSDI. Plus, folks, I also want to say this right here. Joe Biden can make its stimulus happen. It's possible because the high inflation rates may be far from over, but it doesn't mean everything's done. At least, not yet. Because here's what I'm saying. Americans' average income has been beaten by inflation for the past 6 months, driven by the plummeting cost of gas, along with drops in furniture, cars, and other goods. If the trend continues, it could be a boost for Joe Biden, as he gears up for a tough re-election campaign, undercutting one of the main Republican arguments against his handling of the economy. Now, Jared Bernstein, member of Biden's Economic Council advisor, said that people really know how far their paycheck goes. When gas prices are down $1.70 to where they were last summer, that's the kind of breathing room that people recognize. Yet that progress could be in jeopardy, as the Fed officials are preparing to meet next week to raise the rates again, their inflation-fighting crusade with Jerome Powell. And we all know that Jerome Powell isn't even doing much for the American people. What can he do anyways? But it's up to President Biden to make it happen. It's up to Joe Biden to make his stimulus approve. One thing I know for sure is that the economy added 4.5 million jobs, and data has to be released on Thursday. It's expected to show that the GDP increased by another 3% in the last 3 months, defying downturn worries for the time being. But that may change since the impact of the Fed's aggressive rate hikes have not been fully felt in the economy. Prices have been cooling in the past 6 months. The CPI rose again 6.5% and down from 9% in the 12 months of June. Average hourly earnings grew even more slowly, 4.6% over that time period. But a steady drop in inflation in the second half of the year helped income surpass price increases again, bringing real workers' pay roughly to the same level it was prior to the crisis. And with unemployment still at the modern lows, some in Washington, some on Wall Street have held out that the price spikes can cool even further. But people are kind of suspectful of this, and no one really knows if that's going to happen because, let's face it folks, first of all, with unemployment still at the modern lows, prices have come down in many areas like gas. That's probably because the White House officials have driven home the price declines for months by touting them on Twitter and in speeches. And though the price is driven by global factors that are mostly out of Biden's control, what are your thoughts on this, everybody? Tell me in the comments. Because back on January, the last month, the US hit its debt ceiling again. Plus, it had spent around $31 trillion, folks. That's right. $31 trillion for the American people.
We are not in a quorum call.
Then we should not vitiate it.
All right.
Mr. President, my understanding is that the so-called Inflation Reduction Act may be coming to the floor in the coming days. And there are some people who think this bill is worth supporting. There are others who think that it is not. But whatever your views on this bill may be, let us be clear. As currently written, this is an extremely modest piece of legislation that does virtually nothing to address the enormous crises that working families all across this country are facing today. This reconciliation bill falls far short of what the American people want, what they need, and what they are begging us to do. Given that this is the last reconciliation bill that we will be considering this year, it is the only